Hello there, and welcome to the Cargo Bay, a Star Wars conversation podcast being transmitted to you from a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. I am Brady C, here with my co-host as always.
Adam B. How's it going, BC?
Hey, made it through another intro without breaking.
Beautiful. We're talented now, BC. I did some calculations, and in order for us to reach the proverbial 10,000 hours of podcasting, I think we've only got about 6,000 years left or something. Maybe my math's a little off, but we're getting there. We're almost experts.
I feel really good about it. Yeah.
We did lose a little bit of credibility, but that's more of a hobby talk thing. We'll cover that in our Topps Trading Cards hobby talk episode. But we're here to talk about mostly Visions 2. Is that what we're talking about?
We're talking about Star Wars Visions 2, but hey, we're fast and loose these days. Let's just open up. How you been, man? How's it going? How you doing? What's happening in your life? The audience wants to know, as do I.
Let's see. Well,
You're speaking Spanish on Tuesdays.
I watch Visions too. Yeah, I'm doing Spanish Tuesdays with my wife. See if that helps me learn Spanish in the next 6 or 7 years. I made some fake sausage jambalaya yesterday. That was pretty good. I beat Jedi Survivor on Grandmaster on New Game Plus.
The moles. Well, I mean, that sounds relevant to our particular brand of what we got going on here. How was the Grandmaster version of Jedi Survivor?
It was there's a lot about it that's really cool. There's a perk that basically you basically become a one-hit kill target, and your enemies essentially become 1 or 2 hit kill targets, which means that the lightsaber works like a lightsaber actually would, which is very satisfying. That was great. That was a highlight for me.
Yeah, it always kind of bothered me about video game combat with the lightsaber, where it's like you gotta whack them like 9 or 10 times. You're like, I think just one's gonna do it if you get them clean.
It's incredibly satisfying to literally ended one of the biggest boss fights with 2 hits, like block, like the Kenobi versus Maul fight in Rebels. Like a very
satisfying fight. And I imagine a satisfying gameplay experience, considering like I get kind of bored of like the hack and slash button mashing sometimes on video games, where it's like the Jedi weapon is a more elegant weapon.
I feel like on hard difficulties of that game, it's kind of like a Souls game, which to me those start to feel like DDR, where it's like, okay, I gotta parry, like it's really becomes this timing dance, and that gets old to me. But enough about my life, BC. What about yours?
Oh boy, what's not going on with me? The answer is not a lot. Had a big weekend this past weekend. My partner's parents were in town for her birthday.
Nice.
We celebrated, had a really nice dinner out on the town. We're going to be going back to our old stomping ground in Conweegi. My folks are going to be in town they're going to a wedding, so we're gonna meet up with them and hang out with them for a day or so, and do that this weekend. So that's pretty cool.
Nice.
Our short film that premiered at the Made in Arkansas Film Fest has been selected for the Texas Short Film Festival.
Nice.
So hey, we're on the circuit. We're getting those leafy things that you see on posters,
The little Caesar crowns.
Yeah, we're getting our Caesar crowns for our festival selection. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't know if we're going to make the 10-hour drive to San Antonio to go to the festival, but
I'll make it for you.
Be shown there. Okay, great.
I can go be your rep in San Antonio.
Send an emissary in our stead.
Just have Jar Jar Binks fill in.
He'd screw it up though, He'd end up like allowing fascism to happen somehow.
Well, that's beautiful, BC. You spent some family time. You're about to spend some more family time, and there's a lot of themes of family in Vision Season 2. How about that?
Tell me we haven't put in our 10,000 hours. That was an expert transition. Amazing. Well done.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
a lot of family ties in Star Wars Vision season 2, volume 2, I guess we're whatever we're calling this. But yeah. I know I had watched I technically watched through everything. Hadn't I wouldn't say paid super close attention on the episodes the last
Yeah.
time we talked. I've gone back and caught some of them. You have now seen all of them, correct?
Yes, I have seen all of them. A couple of them twice, or more. I saw a lot of them 1.5 times because I watched several halfway through and was like, I'm gonna wait on my wife to watch this in full.
Right.
She's like this. So I think she wound up watching all of them as well, except maybe one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I wasn't that excited about it when it dropped for whatever reason. I wasn't as excited about the stop motion animation as I had been about the kind of the styles of the last season. But after watching season 2, I think on the whole, I liked Visions 2 better, or at least I felt it was a more even collection than the first. For me, anyway.
I think I came around to that after I paid closer attention to the middle episodes that I was basically passively watched whenever they were first released. I think my overall opinion more consistent and better volume 2, but the highs of the first
Yeah,
season,
yeah,
I mean maybe it's just because they hold such like a special place in my heart, and I've had more time with them. They still like the peaks, the elder, the village
yeah,
bride, the
yeah.
Ronin episode, those are still like some of my favorite Star Wars shorts that just exist like in any cartoon or any form. But like overall, I thought the consistency of this season was much better,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, I was really impressed, especially every time one started in stop motion. I was like, "Oh, this is like hands down gorgeous stop motion. Like, where do
Yeah,
these studios come from? What are they doing? Are they doing advertisements? Like,
yeah,
are they just doing short film? How do these people make money to be this good at, like at some of the stop motion stuff?" But yeah, I want to talk about the highs and the not really lows, but the ones that I cared about a little less, I guess. Should we just go
sure.
episode by episode or
Let's do it. I've got the episode list pulled up right here. If
beautiful?
you want, we can start with just Sith is the
See.
title. Studio is El Guiri, I believe is how that's pronounced. With the writer director is Rodrigo Blas.
Okay.
I really like this one
Yeah.
because I'm an artsy fartsy boy, and the visuals of this I thought were particularly interesting.
Yeah, kind of really cool how it started out almost completely abstract, right? And then he
Yes.
kind of got to the point where we got some defined hallways, and but it was nice to see the contrast between like a weird planet like on the
Hmm.
outside and then some tight hallways in between, and then actually the actual art world the Sith, the former Sith creating. I thought it was beautiful. Yeah, it was super fun to watch. Had some cool action. The some of the Sometimes I want to watch these in a different language just because
Hmm.
kind of overall like a lot of the messaging is a little too saccharine for me. Like it's
Hmm.
very pointed and like
Yes.
emotional, which
Yes.
I can take better if it's not in English for whatever reason.
Right.
Like if I'm reading a
Well,
subtitle, it's better
well,
for me.
I mean, this is going to be a running theme throughout this, but I would prefer to hear them in their native
Yeah,
language because most of these are not like English is the first language that these would have been animated
right.
in. So it does. I think the dialogue and some of the story stuff is not lost in translation, but it loses that, I don't know, the as close to the original feel that you're going to get because it is being filtered through another language. I mean, that being said, for almost all of them, the visuals and everything in volume 2 are enough to keep me engaged. I mean, pretty much across the board. But there is a part of me that's like, oh, it would be cool to hear this in Spanish or in French
Yeah,
or whatever the
I
language
wish
is.
it
And
was
like,
easier
I'm
to
cool with
pick.
subtitles. I'm
Yeah,
always
me
a
too.
subtitle guy now. Like, even if it's in English, I'm like, just let me read. too. You know?
Sometimes with anime, like sometimes I want to watch, like I just want to take in the visuals, and if the anime dub is good enough, if Steve Bloom, who shows up in this
He does. He
series
does. Yeah.
in English, if
Yeah.
he's the main character, I'm gonna listen to the dub. But
Right.
I do wish the Disney Plus app made it easier to select the original language tied to the studio, because I was trying to do that and just kind of got lost in different places. Oh, I got to go Google where this animation came from and like then select the language instead of it just being like defaults, you know, whatever. But did you like the double-bladed yellow-red lightsaber that shows up in this? You got a droid with a cannon head.
I
It's pretty
I
rad.
love all the wild shit that appears in these.
Yeah, yeah.
It's one of the, I think I mentioned before. It's one of the things I like most about Visions, that it's like you don't have to stick to the script. You can be creative. Like, you talk about like the abstraction of the beginning of Sith. Like, that is very much like my aesthetic in terms of like what I respond to artistically. Anything abstract, anything expressionist, I'm like that's you would find me in a museum just going gaga over that stuff like all the time. So seeing that infused in Star Wars, I'm just like, well, this
Yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah.
Like I lose a lot of the like critical filter for like, oh, but that's not part of the original canon, and that's what I love about these, is like I don't have to worry about that stuff. I can just enjoy it for these 15-20 minute hits of what they are. So I loved all of it.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I like this episode a lot. I guess it was the first one I watched. I guess I didn't watch any others for a few days. Because the second episode, Screecher's Reach, is that the name of it?
It is Screecher's Reach by Cartoon Saloon director Paul Young for Screecher's
Do we know
Reach.
where this is from? I'm guessing like
I believe
Scotland, Ireland.
I think it's Ireland, I want to
I was
say.
wondering if this was the studio that did Journey of the Kells or something. Like I couldn't.
Let's see. Paul Young is co-founder of Cartoon Saloon. Produced animated features My Father's Dragon, Wolfwalkers, The Secret of Kells.
That's what I'm thinking of, The
Yeah.
Secret of Kells, which I haven't
Yeah.
seen, but when I saw this visual style, I was like, oh, I think they did like a big movie a while back. And this one was a big surprise for me. I loved this.
You sent me a message after you watched it, and you were like, episode 2 knocked my socks off.
Yeah,
You didn't say that, but in those words,
I
that
said
was
it knocked my gloves off, BC.
It knocked your gloves off because
correct.
you do wear gloves whenever
When I
you
watch
Star
TV,
Wars.
yeah. I don't want my fingers to get in the way of my face.
Yeah.
But I always love a kind of surprise horror element. But anyway, this one starts out it's like kids working in a factory, and they run away for a while to go investigate a ghost, and it becomes this really weird story of how ambition is bad and leads to the dark side, where the main character confronts a like Sith hag in a cave.
Amazing twist.
Yeah.
You love seeing that happen. I was like, I did not expect this to occur.
A terrifying Sith hag, and then slays the Sith hag with its lightsaber, and then is basically, a Sith, like a glowing golden Sith master comes down from the sky and, takes her away. And that was genuinely terrifying to me. I was like, this is really creepy.
Yeah. I don't know. You feel like you're walking the path on this episode. Like once you get into it, and the twists and the turns that it takes to the end, you're like, was not expecting that ending. But yeah, really, really good. I mean, we've talked Star Wars horror before. I think this kind of falls very much into what the Star Wars horror genre could be, because there's some really scary stuff in here.
I was just so compelled by the idea that the main character starts out, has this pendant, and is asking for courage and strength, and is kind of encouraged by her friend to be like I should say their friend. I feel like this character is maybe genderless on purpose, or at least androgynous. So anyway, their friend is kind of like, if you need to leave this place, you're destined for something greater, do it. But somehow, when this fight with the hag is happening, even though the hag is screaming and terrifying, I never didn't kind of feel sorry for the hag. And then at the end, when it's crushed under a rock, you see that there's like it's got a little house in there, and it's just
Yeah.
like a rug, and it's just like living a life in this cave. And then the hero puts it down, and you're kind of like, yeah, you got to put it down. And then it's like, oh, wait a second. Oh
Uh-oh.
no. And then by the end, the friend who has encouraged our main character to leave is like,
Mhm.
oh, this is bad, and you're ditching us for this creepy Sith.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I thought it was a lot of these episodes, maybe more than I noticed in the first season, reflect the culture they were produced out of, at least to me. Where it's like,
Mhm.
oh, this is a dreary European sky, and the theme of this is like, even though your home life is awful, you having the ambition to leave your family and do something greater is maybe evil. Like, like maybe that's a
Possibly
bad
more
impulse.
terrifying result.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even though their life seems to be forced labor in a chemical plant.
It's not ideal
No.
for a 9 to 5. Although I suspect they're working them overtime. It's not just a 9 to 5 situation.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, a surprising episode is how I felt watching this. But I love, again, to like to harp on the animation. I really love the animation in this,
Yeah.
right? Like we get so many different styles. This one very like cartoonish. I mean, I that's seems dumb to say, but just in terms of the actual style, it's not like straight anime, not stop motion.
It looks like it's for children by the
It
thumbnail.
does,
You're like, oh, this
yeah,
is for little babies.
yeah. It's I don't know. It almost feels like softer than other animation
Yeah.
styles that we see in some of the Vision stuff, and then you pair it with like the horror elements that are in there. It did feel like unexpected whenever it's like, oh, we're going into this cave and there's an evil hag uh, that we're going to confront. And there's like, oh, okay. I was not expecting that based off the thumbnail, but surprising twist and fun. And like that's what I like about these. Like you don't know what you're going to get into the first time you watch them, and sometimes they're really surprising, and sometimes they're kind of what you expect. But this one I thought was a nice surprise.
Yeah, A+ for me. Bonus points for having a Sith that isn't just like, I'm evil and I wear black. Like having kind of a confusing, scary Sith at the end. And yeah, I this one may be tied for first or my second favorite
Mm.
in the collection. Good for it. I wish this was the opening episode of The Acolyte. I wish what we were getting with The Acolyte
Um,
was the story of this master and Padawan, but I don't think it's going to happen. In fact,
quick
we have some details about
quick aside on the acolyte. I'm feeling more concerned the
that.
more
Yeah,
I hear about the acolyte.
it is absolutely not about a Sith. It's about a Jedi and a Padawan hunting a Sith, which I mean that's good, I guess. But well, 100 years. It's 100 years before a Phantom Menace, which sets us 100 years after the current High Republic era.
Yeah.
So I don't
I
know.
don't know. I
I
don't know. We'll see.
I've been wanting to see a Jedi like the Elder. I've been wanting to see just a Jedi and Padawan hanging out and chasing down a detective adventure. But I wanted the
Yeah.
Acolyte to be our like adult Sith show, or like
Yeah.
our focus on the bad guys show. I don't know why I
And
assumed it would be. It's called the
yeah.
Acolyte. It just sounded creepy to me.
Yeah. I also wanted it to not be super connected to everything else that's
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
again, that's part of what I love about Visions is it doesn't have to be part of any current Disney canon that has to be tied together with a bow.
Right.
Like our next episode, In the Stars.
In the
This is
star.
the studio is Punk Robot. Gabriel Osorio is the writer and director on this. This is the one with the classic factory town where the Empire has drained the resources, mostly of water.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's the two sisters who are, and this is this stop motion?
Yeah,
Do you remember?
if it's not,
It
it's fake stop motion.
it is.
It looks real to me because there's
It
like
did look
scale
real to me
model
too.
sets that I'm like, oh, that's an interesting like scale. That was
Yeah,
clearly tiny, and they shot it as if it were huge.
yeah. I mean, I like if it's like hand done stop motion, it looks amazing
Yeah,
because there are
yeah, it
times I
looks
was like, is
incredible.
this computer generated stop motion somehow?
Yeah,
But um, really cool, fun, sort of kind of like storming the castle kind of
yeah,
mission. To to save to get the precious resource of water, which is what the empire is. It speaks to the what the empire does by coming in and taking over the planet and draining of its resources and decimating native populations and all those kind of fun things that would occur when the empire comes to town. And what happens when you have two courageous little heroes going into try to take care of themselves.
and they do successfully solve all of the world's problems very quickly, which
Yes,
is
they do.
um,
Nice and tidy.
yeah. It's a quick little hit of triumph. My favorite thing about this one though was just the Imperial complex itself.
It looks super cool.
Yeah, it's really rad. Has
Yeah.
it looks totally of the Empire, but kind of in a distinct new way. And I thought the action sequences were cool too. There's also a theme in this. Sorry, let me turn off my notifications. Haywire over here.
You're so popular.
I'm so poppy.
You're the most popular guy.
But yeah, the returning theme of a younger child who is really annoyingly getting in the way of things and causing trouble, but in this case was necessary to push her older sister to the action necessary to take down the empire. We get a cool ATST in there, cool, like stomping around. It was awesome.
Again, family ties. This is gonna, I think, start our run of the family ties stuff that's gonna be going on here in Visions Volume 2. But yeah, really like the episode. The visuals were cool. The the industrial complex of the Empire is super sweet, and if it is some stop motion thing that they got to build, then that seems like one of the coolest jobs ever.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so the next one, I know you love this one. This is one
Oh
you
yeah.
jump to, keeping the family ties very much alive. Titled "I Am Your Mother."
Oh wait, I thought this was no. I What is this one? This is not one I remember loving. Oh yeah, it's the
This is
Aardman
Wedge.
Studios. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. We talked about it briefly last episode. I guess is why I've forgotten it. I haven't seen that one since the first day I watched them. But yeah, we got a lovely little Wallace and Gromit Star Wars adventure about a daughter and her mother who is embarrassing but a good mother, and a daughter and her mother who's less embarrassing but a bad mother. It's like kind of the long and short of it, I guess. And they have a race, and of course the daughter and her embarrassing mother learn to respect each other more and win the race. It's great. We got Wedge on his press tour, his victory recruitment tour. We got tons of
Voiced
little
by
Easter
Dennis
eggs.
Lawson.
Really?
Yeah.
That makes me so happy. I did not know that. I was sure
I read it in the
wouldn't.
credits.
That's
Yeah.
incredible. I just didn't even want to look because I know that he's been frustrated by Star Wars at different points. But maybe as a British dude, he's got some love for Aardman, and maybe that's how this came together. But that's great. That makes me so happy. If this is the last time he does Wedge, it's the best Wedge. Like, this is really great.
Yeah, not that Rise of Skywalker Wedge. It's the Aardman Wedge.
They couldn't have given him 5 seconds in the movie instead of 2. He couldn't. They couldn't have like cut him blowing up a CG TIE fighter. What was that?
The missed opportunity is what it was.
Bummer.
Yeah. Again, fun episode. Iconic animation. I mean, you look at it immediately, and you're like Wallace and Gromit. Like you know it is Aardman Studio as soon as you look at it, which I think is pretty cool to have them take part of this.
So expressive. There's so much stuff that's really funny to me, like when the daughter's like doing hand motion, and her mother's on like a TV interview doing the exact same hand motion at the same time or whatever. That cute little dog R2D2
Yeah.
was great. I don't know. Yeah, I just had a blast the whole time, and I like things that are funny in that way.
It's light. It's you're coming off some heavier, darker episodes. The first three are not particularly light in tone.
Yeah, true.
This one's it's a nice little palate cleanser as
Yeah.
you're binging through these. If that's how people are watching these, that gives you a little bit of a reprieve from some of the darker, heavier themes. Yeah, very cool. Next we go to Journey to the Dark Head. Studio Mirror.
Yeah.
This was a very anime style.
Yeah.
This is a there's like a land where the rocks show literal visions.
Prophecy, yeah.
Yeah, like visions of the future. And so uh, there's a mechanic who sees kind of this vision of the future and goes to the Jedi Council.
Yeah, I feel like she was in a cult and then left the cult, and then many years later became a mechanic and went to the
Yeah.
Jedi, and we're like, you gotta check out this cult.
There's weird stuff going on out there. We gotta blow this stuff up. But there's like these two giant opposing like statue figures, very much the light side and the dark side, that are part of their visions or prophecies that are coming through, and the Jedi Council assign a Jedi to our mechanic hero because the idea is to blow them up, to stop having these prophecies come through, to blow up these giant sky statues, essentially.
Yeah, specifically blow up the Sith head, to cut off the dark
Yes.
side head.
Yes, to prevent any further Sith energy coming out of the giant head. I didn't always follow the meaning of this, but it's super fun. Whenever they get assigned the Jedi and they go on the mission part of this, the animation I thought was great, and the action was good.
I was so excited about this one when they got to the kind of High Republic looking like Jedi Council chambers. We have a Jedi Council meeting. I thought just the visual style of everything was looking awesome. We have the Jedi is reluctant to go. He's facing internal struggle because his master was killed by the Sith Lord. There's Sith wars that are just eating Jedi alive. And they go to this super cool like shop, and there's all this beautiful imagery. And then I was kind of let down by it just turned into a sword fight that was like the light and the dark, and the light and the dark are one and the same, so you can't cut off the head because they change. Like the idea is that the one head is dark and one is light, and then at a certain point they mix and they switch because they're intertwined. I don't know. It was just a little boring to me compared to like the beautiful imagery of the earlier chunks of the episode. The Sith Lord looked awesome before he took his helmet off.
He did look very cool before he took his helmet off. I guess I'd say I didn't really care so much for the actual story.
Yeah.
But I thought the fight, like the actual action of it, was pleasing for me. Like in terms of the sword fight, in terms of like the setting. I kind of tuned out on like, oh yes, the heads is now both blue and red, both good and bad. I'm like, get back to fighting on top of a ship. This is fun.
Yeah, the ships were cool. The ship action was dope.
So the Sith like hits a wing of the ship, and then there's an interior ship inside. They just ram the Sith ship with as they're like going up towards the head. I'm like, nice maneuver, just run right into him.
Yeah.
Take off. I was like, I haven't seen a lot of that.
Kind of proto Kylo Ren shuttle Sith ship.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see more of the city that they were in. That was kind of Blade Runner Star Wars out there. It was kind of earthly in a cyberpunk way. But I don't know. Yeah, I liked the visuals of this. I'm just a little bit over the light and the dark and the balance as themes of my Star Wars.
As the primary theme, sure. Yeah, it's well trod ground. I would say. But worth a 15-minute watch.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll tell you what's worth more than a 15-minute watch is our next episode, which I think is probably my favorite. I just rewatched this. The Spy
I
Dancer.
love it. I love it. Yeah, this is the other one that's either my favorite, either
Yeah.
it's either tied for my favorite with the second one, or it is just flat out my favorite. I
Yeah.
loved it.
This is Pantheon. This is up there with The Elder for me. This is
Yeah,
up there with my
yeah.
favorites from the first season. I will admit I did not give this a super close watch the first time I watched it. I just was kind of tuned out, if I'm being honest. So I got some of the story beats, but I went back and was like, I'll actually give it my full and undivided attention. And I'm glad I did because it turned out to be one of my faves whenever I
Yes.
watched it.
Is this French, I'm guessing?
It is French,
It
yeah.
seems very French. Yeah.
It is very French. How you say? It's a Studio Lacache. I have no
Oh,
idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but yes, it is. It is a French studio. The animation style on this, I went goo goo gaga
yeah,
for. As
yeah,
soon as I saw the stormtroopers,
yeah, yeah.
the way they drew them, I it kind of blew my mind. Everything about it felt like concept art, but concept art that was fully animated into a short. Which I'm always nuts for concept art. Talking about when an artist sits down and they're given initial thoughts about the script or the story, and they are just being expressive on the page, but taking that style and animating the entire thing in that way, so it's not always fully realized animation. Sometimes it's quick, it's expressive in its nature, um, but having something that goes from beginning to end in that style, I don't think I've seen anything quite like this in terms of animation.
Yeah, it was super unique. Kind of at a first glance, I was like, I don't know, is this maybe kind of like simple, But then
Yeah,
the depth in the frame is usually
yeah.
there's a lot going on, and also the action sequences in this were like so cool and well choreographed and unique. I don't know. I was just really taken with the entire thing, and the story's good too. The story's unique and cool, and had me on
the
the
s-
edge of my seat at certain points. It's great.
the story is amazing, and I think there is something to the simplicity of the animation. There is part of it that is very simple. It's not rendered within an inch of its life like
The
some other
stormtroopers are
things.
more expressive than they are like
Yeah,
this. They're missing even maybe the mouth triangles. It's just
yeah.
like the swirl in the top of the head.
I
Like
don't.
it's
I
very
just.
cool.
As soon as I'm telling you, the stormtrooper helmets when I saw those, I was like, I've never seen them like that, and I love that look. And it carries, and the simplicity of it, you lose sight of that whenever the action starts taking place, because the spy dancer of it all is that she's she's this I don't know,
Like a silks dancer
silks
almost.
dancer, yeah, yeah, like a Cirque du Soleil esque silks dancer doing like a high wire act where these stormtroopers and imperial officers are all coming to be entertained, but she's sort of running a kind of a, I don't know, it's almost like part of a spy ring for the rebels, and has tracking devices that she's putting on all of these people who are coming to watch the show, and then encounters and has a flashback whenever she sees a particular Imperial with a K2
Yeah,
unit
a
up
really
in the box,
terrifying
which
K2 unit.
this is when the episode gets all of the depth and the heart,
Yeah,
because you see her having her baby taken away from her by this imperial officer with the K2 unit, which is what triggers this memory for her, and she's in the middle of this act, and
her
plummets to
daughter
the ground, and
rescues
her
her.
daughter plucks her out of the sky, and then we come to find out that it's not the same imperial officer who took her son. Bum bum bum. it is her son.
Which she only finds out right as she's about to kill. After she's already put all her cards on the table because he's like, "Here's the officer. I got to kill this guy. Everybody get ready. We're escaping now. Go go go." And so has this badass fight with everybody, and then realizes she's about to kill her son.
Yeah,
and does not.
Yeah.
But instead fights him on the roof for a long time until she's able to, hold him at bay long enough to explain what's going on and escape. But it's all choreographed so well, where it's
oh my god, yeah.
I don't know, it's one of the coolest fights in Star Wars. The
Yeah,
K2 droid is brutal and rips a cute little droid in half.
And then as he's dying, has like a Terminator moment where like been ripped in half and still grabs the daughter, and you're like, oh, fun. But yeah, like the fight itself is so much more powerful because like she's not like not fighting back. She's just like dodging every move that her son is throwing at her because he doesn't realize it at various points in the fight. And then she like, I mean, it's like a really touching moment. She embraces him, like just grabs him and hugs him at a certain point in the fight, and you're like, oh, Star Wars. Look at you go. It was a really powerful episode.
Gives him a little bit of proof that he is, her daughter, and leaves him there to be rescued by the incoming Imperial forces.
Yeah.
While they escape. Yeah, this was a great pilot episode again for a show that I would watch. She's got these cool arm needles. That's her weapon, aside from her silks, which she uses to, strangle and
to great effect.
Yeah. Super cool all around. This was the one that I watched and I was like, oh man, yeah, this is as good as something last season, like the highs of last season.
10 out of 10. I mean, 10 out of 10 for sure, and it's one that I was like that I would recommend to anyone. Hey, if you want to check out, if you just want to have like 15 good minutes of storytelling, check that out.
Yeah.
Again, but the animation style may not be for everyone, which I totally love and respect. But for me, it was like I haven't seen anything like this before. The story is great. This is like it's scratching every itch that I got for Star Wars.
And also unique ideas with the exposition carried a lot of in the frame instead of the voices. I mean, there was a little bit of explanation through comms chatter, but for the most part, we're just on a ride and we're going.
Yeah.
I like they're stealing TIE fighter wings to build their escape craft under the theater. Yeah, good all around. My one complaint, BC, trackers are too obvious. Take the blinking LEDs out of the trackers.
The blinking and the beeping, it's a problem. It's problematic. I guess it's not good Star Wars.
That's right.
After all. What kind of tech would beep and blink if you're trying to be covert?
In the Star Wars audiobook I'm listening to, there is a mouse droid that shows up and beeps. It's a red mouse droid that shows up in a white field and it beeps. And the entire chapter, there's just beep, beep,
oh my
beep,
God.
beep, beep
no,
in the background.
No.
You can fade it out. I understand. The mouse droid is here.
I get it. We all get it. Oh my God.
Quite a choice.
Fun choice. Yeah, so I guess after the revelation that those do beep and blink, it's a garbage episode. So don't watch it.
Yep.
It's terrible.
Get it out of here.
It's not the right shape. Yeah, but no, it's very good. Next we go on to The Bandits of Golak.
Yes.
By 88 Pictures director Ishan Shukla, who started as a CG artist in Singapore. I'm reading just now. This is kind of like a 3D animation style,
reminiscent of Clone Wars or Rebels in some ways. Maybe a little denser than those shows, but like a similar like 3D cartoon. Not looking at realism here.
Yeah,
elements of realism in texture and in form, but the characters more like they're clay.
And occupying a much more colorful world, which I think is wonderful.
I was so taken with just like, oh, look at how distinctly this is a reflection of a culture that is not,
Yes,
the one I live in.
that is.
And it was really cool. Like stormtroopers in the train carrying little pistols around was
Yeah.
something that just hit me as like, oh, this is happening because it's just like something that I don't understand that is reflecting like, a world I didn't grow
You
up in. It was
you
really
have hit
exciting.
you have hit the nail on the head about what I responded to most about this
Yeah,
episode
yeah.
is that, hey, this isn't Star Wars doesn't take place in America.
Yeah, yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like the galaxy isn't just a bunch of American states or a smattering of,
Yeah.
desert countries. Like it had a feel of something like I don't think we've ever seen in Star Wars before.
No.
And I love that about this. You get a classic brother sister story.
Yeah, so the little
She
girl
is
annoyed me to no end.
yeah,
Continuing the theme of frustrating children.
a little annoying, force sensitive little sister who
Uh,
just wants to, play around and potentially get murdered by all of the Imperials who are surrounding them, imperiling her and her brother. But we get an exciting like train sequence
yeah,
as they're making their escape. For me, it takes off whenever they land in the village Golak.
yeah,
I guess is is where we land, as they've kind of escaped from the immediate danger of the train that they've got going on, and then a super sick looking Inquisitor
yeah. The
shows up.
coolest. I did
Of
buy
the
the trading card set from this episode just because I was like, this
Nice.
Inquisitor is so badass.
He
Like,
looks awesome.
yeah,
Shows up and confronts our heroic pair. Uh, and and wouldn't you know it, just as they're about to be captured or slain, it's the little old lady
yeah.
who you least suspect being a bad A Jedi who's gonna come in and save the day.
I think I might have been spoiled on this. I might have seen an image of her with
Mm.
lightsabers before I saw this. Whatever case, I was expecting the lady to come in and save the day, but rad fight. We get like,
Amazing fight. I love this particularly because like I've had this idea where I've wanted an elderly woman be the hero of a Star Wars
yeah, yeah,
story, like to have that like, and I think it like it's not like a obviously it's not like a wholly original idea, but like after seeing Everything Everywhere All at Once and the mother in that being such like a kick-ass action star, I was like, we should do that in Star Wars and have like a badass older woman who's not, in the demographic that Disney wants to sell action figures of,
right.
be the protector
I
and the
want this action
hero.
figure so bad, though.
I do too.
Personally.
Like I'm like, I would love like I think they should start releasing Visions action figures. Like
I
it,
saw one in a store once of from last season in Target. There was like a vinyl figure of one of the
yeah.
anime ones, and I was like, "Where's the Ronin? Where's
Yeah.
all of them? That's what I want
I
because I
had
want the
I had the
Inquisitor and
exact
this
same
lady
feeling.
real bad."
Yeah, it's because there is a set there. I mean, there is one episode that has that vinyl figure. It's like I don't know, $40, and it's not my favorite
Yeah, it's one of my least
episode.
favorite episodes.
The Ronin has like a Funko Pop with the R2 unit, which I'm
Not a Funko person.
like it depends on the Funko, but I don't like actively seek them out or collect them. But I think these would be sick action figures, but that's just me. And I get it's a niche market, but yeah, I would buy the elderly woman of Golak action
Yeah.
figure, and I'd be among a handful of people who would. But like, invest in the plastic, just do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but print a limited run of the Inquisitor versus Elder of Golak and buying it.
Yes.
And she slays the Inquisitor, who has revealed himself to be completely evil and awful. 1 second.
Yep. So she does slay the Inquisitor with a nice, just like the simplest little throat slice.
Yeah, yeah.
Like we've seen some beheadings in previous episodes. This is just like she cuts his carotid and he's done.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's badass.
And then she, of course, is like, "Hey, we gotta take the little girl down here in this path hole because she's gonna be hunted. You see how all these people were killed thanks to
Yeah.
her running around?
Yeah.
So
So now she's never gonna see you again, and
time
good
for the Colts.
time for us to rip her away from everything she's known and loved, and off you go." And you're like, Jedi.
Oh, Jedi.
Oh, you Jedi. Always be Jediing.
I
Um,
this is one that, like, from the opening frames and the description, I was just not ready to be interested in it at all. And yeah, by the time it was done, I was like, that was really great.
Yep.
I think I've watched that one all the way through twice, actually.
Yeah. I did not initially expect it, but this most recent time I watched it, I mean, like you said at the top, like just the feeling of having another culture that is represented visually and like feeling it, like it is so well rendered in like the environment
Yeah.
and the costumes and the way the characters are designed. You're like, oh, this is a great just like environment to watch, even if the story isn't always like top tier, top notch. Like just the environment of it alone is enough to bring me back to it.
And I'm not an expert, but it felt like it was coming from an authentic place versus like what we sometimes see in Star Wars, which is, hey, this alien race is an analog for people who aren't from America, from the United States of America, or what's the horrible shit like that. This was like, oh, this is I don't know, it's just cool and different, and I would love a full live action movie in this style.
Yeah.
It was almost like, you know how the first time you watch Star Wars, you're like, wow, I'm being swept away to a new place. Cool. This was like this felt like that again, where it was like, oh wow, I'm in Star Wars in a new place. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a very nice change of pace. So that's a wrap on Golak. Let's go to the pit.
The pit.
The pit. The pit, which prominently features a giant pit.
Giant pit. Steve Bloom in the English version.
Yep.
The visual style of this was very cool to me. It's one of my least favorite as far as the overall watch. It's a little slow. It's very saccharine. It's very much. I mean, the basic story is like the Empire has a bunch of slaves dig a pit, basically, or like, you know, like prisoners. They are doing slave labor for the Empire. They dig a pit.
Yep.
There's some kyber in there. There's a really cool shot when they're digging the pit. There's a city being built on the outside of the pit as they're digging down. And then eventually there's no more kyber, or the city's finished, and so the Empire leaves them alone in the pit. And it's a story about someone inspiring everyone, climbing out, trying to find help, and then dying. But don't worry, everyone remembered that his catchphrase was "Find the light," so they all chant until they're rescued.
Find your light.
Is it "Find your light" or "Find the light"?
When it becomes a musical, it's going to be Find Your.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the chanting brings the people out of the city. And the
they
people
rescue
are rescued.
The people in the pit.
I don't know to what fate they're being taken away to, but they are flown out of the pit in which.
Yeah, the animation I liked. The overall story, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to come back to it.
Yeah,
anytime.
I just found it boring and again a little too directly, a little too pointed for my taste.
Yeah, definitely worthwhile effort, but yeah, I generally feel the same way. It doesn't. I mean, there's a simplicity to it, which is nice. The overall look and feel is good, but it just didn't hit me the way that some of the others did. But you know, that's the thing about these is it might be someone else's favorite, and that's great.
Yeah,
check it out.
There's a cool graffiti image at the end I've seen everywhere.
Yeah, and
kind of post-credit scene for that episode, where it's
that's
like
right, there was.
The director name flashes up, and then there's it's like 2 credits cards, and then a mid-credits sequence. Credits continue.
And then our final is Au's song.
Au song.
Tell me, what are your thoughts about Au's song?
I thought it was cute. I enjoyed it. I really like the style. Again,
Yeah.
adorable. It's fun to look at. It's super sharp and high def. Like I think this is fake stop motion or
I
CG
think
stop motion.
yeah, I think so.
But it looks really good, and it's basically about a planet where all the kyber crystal has been corrupted by the Sith, and they wish that they could purify it again. And there's a little girl and her father who's a miner. But anyway, the little girl has the power to fix the crystals by singing, and which she is discouraged from doing.
Yeah, which is just mean.
It is
Mean
mean.
spirited.
But eventually, she, of course, does sing and save everybody by fixing the crystals. And a Jedi who's there is happy that happened and is like, well, now I got to take your child away from me. So we return
Obviously.
to that theme of children being taken away.
Obviously, we're taking your child. It's the
And,
Jedi way.
and the
Super
Sith
cool.
way, apparently. Not much difference, except that the Sith in the Sith
Trust
one,
us, we're the good guys. We're taking your children.
It did seem like the in the episode where our hero goes to the Sith, much more choice in that. In fact, the choice was literally like, "Do you want to come?" And this in the Jedi ones, it's kind of like, "You gotta come."
You're coming. You have to. You just gotta.
Cute animals. I enjoyed watching it. I also really enjoyed the Jedi in it. Cool looking Jedi. Only lightsaber use is to slow the descent down a cliff. A Errol Flynn type move, which is now happens all over Star Wars canon. Apparently, there's enough resistance to a lightsaber blade that you slow yourself with one.
Yeah, the physics of the lightsaber really need to be. We should really have a master class on that at some point. We should really get that defined.
I was reading one of the books I was listening to recently. Thrawn tells, after Luke's cut down some stormtroopers and Thrawn's hunting him, Thrawn is like, look for almost microscopic cuts. Meaning that the cutting blade of a lightsaber is almost microscopic. Again, when Anakin cuts open the Tusken Raider hut, he then has to kick the circle in. I was like, oh, weird. I guess it's a really thin blade. So apparently it's just a bunch of light around a tiny little cutting plasma.
Tiny little cutting surface.
But anyway, what do you think about it, BC?
I didn't love it. Yeah. I don't know. It just again, this was I haven't watched it twice. I've watched it one time. It felt more like a passive watch. The animation and the color are beautifully rendered, but just didn't grasp me as a story, I'd say.
I think I would have cared a lot less if I hadn't watched it with bro. It was fun enjoying the cuteness of everything that was happening with her, and then also just it's a sweet dad.
Yeah.
Daughter.
Yeah. I think it would be worth, because I have by and large enjoyed most of them the second time I've gone back and watched them. So it'll probably be something I rewatch again just to see if it changes my mind. But the initial watch it didn't grab me like some of the other ones did.
Yeah, the story is not anything right home.
Not like the Spy Dancer.
Yeah, I've already sent several letters to my parents. They've told me to stop sending them plot summaries of The Spy to them. The Spy Dancer.
Then get over it. They're gonna keep coming.
But yeah, that's all of Visions 2, eh?
We did it.
We did it.
We did it.
Nice work.
We did it.
Congratulations to us.
We have done it again.
I guess good on the animators or whatever, but
yeah, they did all right too.
I enjoyed myself. I'm ready for Visions 3. Keep them coming. Turn one of these shows into a show, eh?
Yeah, that is 100% my feeling. Is one, I want more of this, and I want a lot more.
Yeah.
Like I am perfectly happy going on many more adventures, like spun out of the Elder, spun out of Ronin, spun out of the Spy Dancer. Like even if it's like an animated movie that's
even better,
75 minutes long. Yeah. Like you don't have to do 6 seasons of something. No. Like, but the good thing is it does leave you wanting more of some of these, right. But it's also the bad things sometimes too, where you're like, that's it. I gotta go to the next one. You're like, oh, this one's good too, and then that's it. But there's another one. It's like I do just want more of this. Like I do love that they're short, they're diverse, they're visually compelling, they're visually different from each other. They're allowing creative people to be creative with a property that typically doesn't smile upon that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I just am like, get more in the works, do more of this, and maybe give us, multiple episodes of one of these stories that are being responded to.
Hey, let the next season be written and animated by AI and make NFTs of it. That's what we want, right, BC?
Boom! Crypto to the moon!
I jest, of course.
Oh yeah, me too, totally.
BC's actually big into AI NFTs.
Oh, you have no idea. I actually am AI and an NFT. Shocker, plot twist,
Speaking
everybody.
of AI, how about the one in the spy dancer that helped the guy realize he was the woman's son?
There you go.
All right, maybe we haven't hit that 10,000 hours yet, BC.
Maybe not.
I do think
but we're getting closer every minute.
That's right. Getting closer every minute, and now we're very close to the end of this episode. Thanks for listening, y'all. We're on to record Hobby Talk, which is our top Star Wars news hobby segment thing.
You say we don't have 10,000 hours under our belt. We're crushing this.
We're on the YouTube. We're on the
Check us out.
feed.
Like, subscribe, leave a comment and a follow. Do all those things and go snoke yourselves, you beautiful cargo babies.
Bye forever.
May the force be with you.